Today I am lucky enough to have Aaron Dunn from Musopen.org, who is doing a project right now on Kickstarter called Set Chopin Free. You want to go ahead and tell us a little about that, Aaron?
I'm gonna have to correct you there. It's Chopin.
Chopin.
If we're
I
being
know that too, and I
correct,
feel like an idiot
that's
for
that's the
saying that.
classic. That's the classic classical music joke. Um, yeah. So where to begin? We were very fortunate when Kickstarter began to be one of the first early big projects, and so we've spent the last few years thinking about what else we can do. Musopen, I should start with, is a registered nonprofit. It's sort of like Wikipedia for music. The goal is to provide copyright-free music recording, sheet music, and educational materials. So these Kickstarters are a way of promoting the project and getting people to back us so that we can go and obtain more music. So this project's goal really was, can we get the entire life's work of a person who's passed away a long time ago and make everything they created freely accessible? So in this case, we chose Chopin because he's been dead long enough, he's very popular, and we can actually afford to buy his music.
Very cool. And as a producer, I've used you guys before to find music, and it's an incredibly great
Awesome.
service. And just to clarify for people who don't realize that you crowdfunded your project or Musopen originally, and that was 2 years ago, you said?
Yeah, like 2009, 2010, something like that.
Yeah. So it was this is your second go around with crowdfunding, and for me, I was just like one as a user of what you've done. I thought it was interesting, and you have some of the coolest rewards I've
Thank you.
seen. For something that didn't necessarily have to do with it, you found an interesting way to bring some uniqueness to your project and make it really accessible for people who may not even need or use your service, which I thought was great. Just so people
Right.
know, right now they have you have 23 days to go. You recently passed your goal of $75,000. You're up to $82,120 from 2008 backers. So you're successful and have a long ways to go. And I'm curious as to what you can point to as the key to your quick and substantial success.
So it was quick this time because we already had a pretty substantial base of support. The first time, if you look at our progress, took much longer and actually took place in about 2 or 3 days, and that was from media exposure. But for all the people that reach out, the best thing you can do is have a pretty good sense that you could do this on your own, and then assume that Kickstarter will then galvanize people and give you an extra maybe 30%. But a lot of people that go there expecting to find an audience are going to be disappointed, and I think that's the biggest mistake people make.
Yeah, discovery is sort of people just assume that you're going to be found on Kickstarter, and then they
Right.
discover that it's a needle in a haystack kind of thing
Right.
a lot of
Sadly, I
times.
have not found a giant audience of people waiting to just give you cash. You sort of need your backers in advance, and then Kickstarter is just a great way of organizing them and finding a couple others.
Sure, and I'm wondering if there's anything. You're the first person that we've had on Funded Friday who is, I think, it's their second successful project, and I'm wondering, is there anything that evolved or that you learned or that was different from the first time around that sort of surprised you this time?
Yeah, I don't know if surprised. Yeah, I guess surprised. So the first, we're sort of a mission-oriented group. We're trying to set music free. So the first time, the focus really was on the end goal for me. I think it was about doing a really good job, getting really great music. And what I think I didn't spend enough time thinking about is the prizes really matter to get people to back. Ultimately, only so many people actually care about classical music or about the mission. But regardless, it's a thank you, it's a gesture, it's a token of the support they've given. So we actually are going to spend a lot more time and a lot more money this time focused on making the experience of ending it much more exciting. Last time it was sort of, okay, we did it, isn't that great? But then it was just, to us, a pain getting t-shirts, getting all this stuff. I wanted to avoid it. But I'm actually going to make that sort of the core experience. So yes, we're going to have the music, but what I deliver to you, I want to be like you just got this amazing gift basket in a nice hotel or something.
Well, that's great, and I think that's what I think is interesting about that, and talking to a lot of creators over the last year. People often dread the delivery because it's not part
Mhm.
of what they're trying to sell. Ultimately, if they're making a clock or phone case or a movie. They're doing that thing, but they have all these other things, and it becomes a burden a lot of times.
Yeah.
And in that, I think that people don't necessarily think through what they're doing, one, and so they get overwhelmed. But two, they're missing an opportunity, and that process can be wholly rewarding as part of the whole experience if you were to plan it correctly. And it sounds like you've done that this time around. For people who have not yet backed you, what are the reasons why maybe they should get involved with what you're doing?
I think you either have to like the music that we're going to release. If you've been maybe eyeing a complete recording of Chopin on Amazon, you might say, oh, it's $100, so you can get the whole thing anywhere from $1 to $50 plus. We're going to have a book that talks through all of his music. So I think if you're comparing apples to apples, it's a pretty reasonable comparison. But also, I mean, you'd have to support the mission. You'd have to want to increase the accessibility of public domain works. You'd have to like classical music or just the goals overall.
I think there's something I wanted to bring up with you. There's like a nice parallel between the mission of what you're doing and crowdfunding in general, where you're involving the public in the creation of, a lot of times in what we're doing in arts and in film and music and all sorts of different things. And, you know, maybe just as like a general subject, are there things about crowdfunding that appealed to you, going back to your first crowdfunding campaign, as like that's the way that we need to do this because that's sort of, you know, tangential to the mission that you're pursuing as with Musopen?
I
don't know, maybe
it raises a lot of interesting questions. I think that sort of, I mean, I think the biggest lessons we've thought about this a lot. There's so much that we could talk about here. I think the most interesting aspect is it's really sort of a transactional platform, right? The thing about Kickstarter is it's not membership to NPR, right? Where they ask for bids every year. This is a project-based system. So for someone like me that's trying to run this nonprofit, I can't look to it as something, hey, every year I'm going to ask for more money and we're going to do more stuff. It has to be unique. It has to be interesting. There has to be a strong emphasis on the gifts and the end result. So it just changes the sorts of things that you can do on it. And I think the things that you see fail, and I've had a failed Kickstarter project, are the ones that are just sort of, hey, help us, we're doing something cool. And Kickstarter is intentionally designed to avoid that. You'll see they don't just want fundraisers, they want projects. So it sort of changes the model and it focuses it in a very, so you might see other things, maybe someone else will specialize in working around that, but for right now it seems to work.
Cool. And so thinking through that, you know, you failed before, and now you're on your second success story. Are you looking ahead towards this as the model through which you'll do your next big project? Is this sort of will this be the go-to route for Musopen to pursue bigger picture things like you're doing?
We'll have to see. We'll have to see what ideas we get, what the interest looks like. I surveyed people last time. I'm going to survey people again after we do this one to see what the appetite is. I think we've sort of seen a natural limit to what we have. So even if we increase the number of people each time, it doesn't look like we're one of these video games on Kickstarter that's going to get $5 million, which is fine. I think our audience is inherently somewhat limited, and we're going to lose people from the previous ones. So it depends on the amount we can raise, but we're definitely going to try something different next time. My goal is that it's as ambitious, if not more so, that it's always unique, and that people get excited about it. So I don't think it's going to do much more beyond the sorts of things you've seen in the past, but more broadly within music.
Cool. Any final thoughts? Maybe like, where do you expect this project to end? What's the number? Or is there something that you?
Oh, I don't expect. I barely expect it to meet the goal. It's actually, which was another thought and another observation, which is setting the goal amount has a lot of implications for people. So for those thinking about what they want, when I approached the press that wrote about us previously, when they saw that we were at 15%, nobody wants to write about a failed Kickstarter project, even if it's interesting. So I didn't realize I had sort of set myself up to make the bar much higher to get press. The last time we did it, we were like 600% over our goal. So, oh, the press loved that, right? That sounds great. So you have to be very careful to strike a balance between what do I need so I get that little bump in PR, but what's the absolute minimum I need to raise, or I can't do this. So yeah, there's a lot of lessons learned, a lot of interesting stuff to take away.
Would you recommend to a creator to undervalue something in order to do that?
It's a risk. We did it both times actually.
Really?
And so yeah, but so I set this one much more ambitious goal, and just about what we need. I don't expect to get much more. I didn't expect to make it. So yeah, I think you might have to make it a story.
Just you did not expect to make it, and you have. Did you truly not expect, or is it sort of?
No, if you watch, so my theory the first time was, I had rough percentages that of the people that backed the first time, I said, okay, let's be generous and let's say I'm going to get 60 to 70%. That's pretty generous. If you think about the attrition of people you're going to lose, either they didn't like it or they don't care anymore, they've moved on. I said maybe 60 to 70. So if you take 60 to 70 of what I earned, that's a lot less than what my goal was. So then I'm assuming somehow I'm going to find a whole new audience. If you also look at the first time, I got all the funding. It was flat. It was dead until the last 3 days, and then I shot through my goal. So this time, it was piecemeal. Day by day, I got maybe 5 to 10K. So I didn't see this. So I was like, okay, any day if the momentum stops, it's over. That's it. I made a nice effort. It's done. This was not a 3-day, and that's what I expected, because if my theory was all the previous guys are going to do it within the next 2 or 3 days, I should see that within 2 or 3 days, but I didn't. So that I did not necessarily expect to make it.
And to be honest, it sounds like the theories that you often hear from people is that your first couple of days are the big ones, and then maybe at the end you see another big bump. So maybe what we're discovering, or you're seeing, and what people will discover as they do their second and third Kickstarter is that with more subsequent projects, you get a more stair-like approach, which is probably what going into it not knowing anything is what you might expect. And probably helps with your sanity a little bit to know that there's more coming in every day. And
it does and doesn't. I liked the rocket ship for 3 days because if you only have to wait 3 days. With this, I had to wait a lot longer.
Sure.
Yeah, nothing helps make that.
You did have a unique, a 45-day funding period, and I wanted to ask you about that before we go.
Yeah, that was another thing that I saw the first time. I smashed through the first one. I have no idea what I could have raised had it kept going. And I regretted, all these people emailed me saying, oh, why can't I donate anymore? Like, oh my God, this is so painful. I also didn't have enough time. The press caught on in the last 3 days to the project, which also killed me. So I lost press, I lost money. So this time I wanted to allow for a ramp up. I don't mind going quiet and not making any more money in the remaining 20 days. That doesn't affect me, but it gives me way more leeway to raise money. So for new people that are just starting, it may not be as good an idea, and I may not do as much in the future. But for this, I wanted to play it safe, give myself time to come up with marketing ideas and various things.
Great. Well, I think what you're proving, and something that I believe in, is that there's no right way to do it. It's sort of,
not so far.
A lot of people that say that there is, but yeah. So congratulations so far, and best of luck with the last 20+ days. And I'm a backer, and if you haven't checked it out, I'll post a link right here to check out Set Chopin Free, not Chopin, Chopin. So, all right. Thank you, Aaron.
As long as you back, I don't care how you say it.
Yeah.
Thanks so much.
Have a good one.
Appreciate it.
Bye, everybody.
Take care.